And we're live, but before we talk, we're gonna do a Jeremy intro.
Bye, 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 bye. I know I'm a grifter strong man. You could lick your hand and smack me in the nutsack. Thank God for Tesla my Esla and you strong man.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Strongman Personal Finance. We have our favorite crypto shill here, George P. Purdell. We got some interesting things to talk about today. Welcome, buddy.
Glad to be here.
So I hear you have some interesting things about the greatest asset in the world, crypto, that you would like to discuss with my genius fan base.
Absolutely. The main thing I wanted to discuss is the difference between millennials and Zoomers when it comes to crypto. I'm an old school millennial investor. I understand the process, the blockchain, and the decentralization of it. And crypto has unfortunately headed in the wrong direction where it's becoming less and less decentralized. What I mean by that is us millennials or early adopters of crypto have a phrase called "not your keys, not your wallet," meaning if you don't have the password to where the Bitcoin is being held, then you don't actually own it. Right now, to own a Bitcoin, you'd have to own it physically, you'd have to download the entire blockchain, which is growing at about a megabyte an hour. And right now it's over 400 gigabytes. But you have to download the entire thing to ensure that the transaction is correct. And you can only trade Bitcoin on this network in denominations of one, meaning if you're selling a fraction of a Bitcoin, then you don't own that Bitcoin. That means somebody is operating as a bank and selling you that fraction of Bitcoin, and they have the password or the keys to the wallet. So they actually own the Bitcoin in a technical sense. And like I said, that's acting centrally as a bank. The most famous one of these is, I'm sure you've seen in El Salvador how they have fractions of crypto.
Oh, yeah, I go to El Salvador twice a week.
Well, they have this thing called the Lightning Network. And the Lightning Network is a plugin for Bitcoin. Like, it runs on top of it, kind of like you have the internet, and then on top of that you have the dark web, which is like a plugin. But the problem with this Lightning Network is now the ledger, they have the ledger and they do the transactions that relate to the Bitcoin, that relate to the real Bitcoin network. It's a layer on top that they completely control. They have no consistent accounting. The payments are executed off chain when you're buying these Satoshis. And I mean, it's a nightmare, because basically you share your funds with the group. The group can censor and remove you, and you need the group's permission to operate. You can't interact, you can't transact with any other groups, competing apps, kind of similar, like where you can't use PayPal and to send money to Cash App very easily. They have to, the group can make you lose access to your funds proportionally, and they'll just nickel and dime you sometimes with gas fees. On the flip side, some of these have where they guarantee you interest, but it's all very, very shady with little accounting oversight.
Well, I thought blockchain was supposed to be this, ledger, this eternally growing ledger that could verify every transaction.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
What's going on here? How did Bitcoin fail?
Well, Bitcoin is still going on strong. There's a ledger of every Bitcoin added. What there's not is a ledger of this Lightning Network, which sells you fractions of a Bitcoin, and it ties in loosely to Bitcoin. But it's independent of Bitcoin's founding, if that makes sense. And another issue with it is, are you familiar with the Bank Secrecy Act?
I am not.
Okay. Basically, the way the Lightning Network is configured, it requires multiple anonymous parties and multi-hop transactions to try to. I mean, it's a big deal where you're not supposed to be able to do that. You know, you got to be able to prove like where funds are. I don't quite know the extent of the law about how crypto is like about an asset, but if it ever gets considered one, that would definitely be a concern.
Well, it's not considered a security because normally when you, if you want to offer, let's say my YouTube channel, I want to offer stock in my YouTube channel. Well, I can't just go ahead and do that. There's actually like laws that govern that. So it's not a security. I think they classify it as property. Yeah, I think it's like property, and like the way it's taxed is basically taxed like, any other property, like capital gains. Yeah. So I'm looking up the Lightning Network. It's a second layer added to Bitcoin's blockchain that allows off-chain transactions.
Right. So what's the point of the chain?
Yeah. So I mean, like, why? Like, what brought this about?
Basically, here's what happened. There was a big debate about Bitcoin years and years ago. As Bitcoin gained more and more value, it became less and less scalable, meaning less people could buy Bitcoin because, when it's $20,000, well, I mean, there's not that many people that are going to spend $20,000 on one Bitcoin. So they came up with a way to centralize and sell stakes in a Bitcoin, but it's not on the chain because the chain can only record multiples of one. It can't, so they centralized the decentralized currency in order to make it more accessible to everybody. But most people don't know enough about cybersecurity or the risk of fraud or losing everything to justify a risk into Bitcoin. You would have to be really technologically savvy, keep your Bitcoin offline, and buy it through the main network, not a sub thing, in my opinion. And there's very few people that could do that. I mean, just setting up the wallet and downloading the 400 gigabytes necessary to get started and the 20 grand, that's just a monumental challenge.
I just don't get why there's it just sounds like there's such an inherent flaw with Bitcoin. I mean, obviously, wouldn't the original designer know that, you couldn't only just transact it in, units of one, especially if there's only how many Bitcoins are there supposed to be?
21 million total. 19 million have been minted, and 20% of the ones minted have been lost because people forgot their passwords. I'm not kidding.
And how long are these passwords supposed to be?
It's recommended, since there is such an interest in getting into these wallets, it's recommended that there are at least 16 characters, uppercase, lowercase, symbols, numbers, and even foreign characters. Like what I mean by that is other languages in the password. If you forget it by one, oh well, you're done. There goes your Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and since it's decentralized, it's not like there's an authority where you can go and get it back. I mean, it's just gone.
So why did it get so popular? I mean, it just sounds like it's so stupid.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Basically, the first Bitcoin transaction was a guy bought 2 pizzas for $25, which equivalent of $25, right? Excuse me. 2 pizzas, $25 worth. He paid 11,000 Bitcoins, which would make it the equivalent of a fourth of a cent. Is that right? Anyway, that sounds about right. A fourth of a cent per Bitcoin. It wasn't very valuable. There was some buzz around it with some anarcho-capitalists that kind of liked it. But it didn't really take off until there was this website called the Silk Road. Basically, the Silk Road, it was on the dark web, and it was founded by this guy in Texas who wanted a way to sell mushrooms that he grew in his closet online. So he founded the dark web and then opened it up for registration for other vendors, and it was pretty crazy. There was very few things you couldn't buy. You couldn't, or you weren't supposed to be able to buy on the website, but there were guns for sale, drugs, everything. And since there was no cash being transacted, it's a little bit ahead of the law. Eventually they got busted, but it's a little bit ahead of the law because, hey, well, I didn't sell the gun. I gave it for free. He gave me some Bitcoin. So, but as that black market and ability to able to launder funds grew and the Silk Road grew in popularity, so did the Bitcoin price.
So that's the foundation of the beautiful cryptocurrency is basically a bunch of disgusting, slimy transactions on the Silk Road. That's the noble origins of Bitcoin.
That's the origin of its value. Yes. It took the FBI 30 months to bust the guy that was, shut down the site. And here's how thorough their investigation was, right? They even had like his second in command who rose to the top as second in command was actually an FBI agent that was working for him. But he's kind of got a decentralized thing here. And so the FBI agent stole $350,000 of Bitcoin and put it at another employee's account. Because if you have someone's wallet, you can put any funds you want in their account, right? All you need is the number. They can't stop it from coming. So this made the guy who founded the site try to hire a hitman to kill the guy that didn't actually steal the money. It was the FBI agent. But the hitman that he hired was actually another FBI agent. So he got busted and they shut down the site. But here's the thing. The guy that set him up, the guy that set the other guy up, that was the FBI agent, he actually got arrested because he had other accounts on the Silk Road where he was selling illegal stuff.
Oh my God. I didn't know that story. I didn't know anything about that. That's fascinating.
But that was really when the value started taking off. It was a way to launder money and sell illegal goods. And since the wallets were anonymous and you're on a dark web where you need permission to be on it, I mean, it was the ultimate privacy. Now you may think like, well, who would buy drugs? Like, what if they don't deliver drugs, right? Well, what the Silk Road did is it would offer to hold Bitcoin in this escrow account, wait for the person that bought the drugs to confirm that they got them, and then move it from the escrow account to the seller and take a percentage. Back then, when Bitcoin wasn't worth a lot, that was doable. And so these dealers who set up shop on the Silk Road, you would think they would have lousy service, but they actually were obsessed with customer service because they wanted to get that out of escrow, and they were obsessed with having 5-star reviews.
Oh, 5-star reviews on a website that's all about selling illegal crap.
Yeah.
So okay, so my question is, so you have a wallet and everything's public. If you're selling illegal stuff, wouldn't you think that would come back to bite you in the butt?
It did. Like the FBI was monitoring the addresses of wallets and seeing what other ones they did business with, and identifying it because anyone can view it on the public ledger. That's kind of the catch-22. It's anonymous at first, but as time goes on, it becomes where every transaction is trackable. You can create other wallets. You can create as many other wallets as you want, but still, there's a limit to the anonymity.
Is there a way you can create a wallet without your name, or is there always a name somehow associated with the wallet?
Oh, there's no name at all. The wallet number is set up. Okay, you got the private key and the public key. The private key is your password. The public key is your wallet address. And that's all a wallet is. It's a public and a private key. The way Bitcoin does it, and the reason that you need such an intricate password, is there's a complicated mathematical function that takes your password and makes your public based on it's somehow generated by your private password.
Okay, so if it's generated by your private password, can't you like reverse engineer that? Or is it all just like random?
Oh, you theoretically you could. However, the mathematics, they use a ton of theoretical mathematics in the creation of Bitcoin. It's really phenomenal. It was way ahead of its time, and the odds of being able to crack that would basically be none.
Yeah, so
or it would be very low, I should say. You could probably do it with AI if you studied it enough and created thousands of accounts and could see maybe a pattern.
Yeah, but like, how do you even create a wallet? Like, don't you have to go on a website or something? And if you're going on the website, I imagine you'd maybe enter your name or somehow it could be traced back to you. It's like, how do you actually create a wallet?
Well, the best way, there's two types of wallets. There's soft wallets and there's hard wallets. Soft wallets not recommended because they're prone to being hacked. That's where you're online. Hard wallets you can order online for a couple $100. It's like a USB drive, and you plug it in and you keep it offline. But you do need some type of way to transfer it as well. The hard wallets, however, if you lose them, that's it. I mean, the soft wallets you can, I guess, kind of, in theory, access online, but you're more vulnerable to being hacked.
Yeah. I'm just so glad I don't deal with that crap. I use this thing called a bank, ladies and gentlemen, and like money gets deposited in there and money goes out and I can transfer it. And it's basically instantaneous. I don't see the appeal of Bitcoin unless I wanted to, sell my daughter or something.
Well, but what's funny is the bank actually has lower fees than a lot of cryptos. Like, look at the gas fees for like Ethereum; they've gotten ridiculous. It's almost like and it depends on what time of day. And they've actually had some cryptos that get higher gas fees than the transaction is worth, which I just find hilarious.
Because the gas fee is what compensates the miner, the people that are processing the transactions and all the electricity. So, right, that's kind of what it is, right?
It is, and typically with gas fees, it's usually with like some software that's acting as a centralized bank, which this was designed to beat. So they could take a percentage of it, or they can have like a percentage be burned. I mean, it's like I said, I'm old school. If you don't have the keys to your wallet, then you don't own the crypto, in my opinion. But because what happens if there's a network failure? I mean, what if like someone, let's say there's someone like Tyler Durden from Fight Club that works at Lightning Network. What's to stop him from secretly rising the ranks and then one day, kaboom, destroy the entire financial system? Like,
yeah, that would be interesting. I hope it does. I hope the whole Bitcoin or crypto system can just be destroyed somehow. Like I can't wait till the one event happens where all cryptos just immediately go to zero. And if you can tell me how to do that, I'll dedicate my life to doing it.
Okay. Infiltrate the ranks. Pretend like you're a Bitcoin enthusiast, because there's people that are in charge of this. It's supposed to be designed in like a committee, but one person, like, if they do the right thing, it's all it takes. Bitcoin has shown to be remarkably secure compared to most cryptocurrencies. But I was reading an article. It was about this computer programmer that was trying to do an update this week to a DeFi crypto derivative, and then he made a programming error, and it wiped out over $600,000 worth of people's crypto.
Oh, isn't that article we pulled up?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and share my screen. We can look at this. That's what I'm saying. If I could just find a way to infiltrate this crap, kind of like you're talking about, I would dedicate my life to destroying everything crypto. Optify? What? So what is Optify? Like I've heard of all these different like, cockfi, dickfi, all these other fies are coming out. Or isn't there even like WonderFi with what's his nuts? You know what I'm talking about?
There's an endless amount. Basically, you know how I was telling you that the Lightning Network, they sell Satoshis, which they claim are portions of a Bitcoin, but it's actually another level that uses the Bitcoin program, and then it's separate, but it relies on it. Well, it's kind of the same thing with Optify, but I think it's with Solana. It's something that was invented to add some utilities to an existing coin. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah. Solana-based decentralized permanently closes its mainnet. Mainnet?
Yep.
All right, so like, how do you accidentally shut it down and never be able to open it again?
Excuse me. I mean, that's a good question. Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of technical details that I could find. I mean, I wonder if it was as simple as some programming error, probably. But I'd love to know, or maybe it was the erasing of a ledger, or maybe he was trying to introduce something into the coding, like because a lot of times when you're coding, you don't write every line. You import pre-existing ones, and sometimes they have unintended effects. They call it the ghost in the shell. And when something lines up that you weren't expecting, and this is one hell of a ghost of the shell.
And this is an options exchange.
Yeah.
So there's clowns out there trading options on highly volatile cryptocurrencies.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god! I bet you could, man. If you had to write a good play, you could make a freaking fortune off of this. Yeah, 661,000 USDC is locked. Luckily, 95% of the fund is from our team members. Oh, so during the process of the update, a new buffer account was created, and a part of Optify's tokens were transferred into the account. So I guess they like stopped the update, and I guess once the coins were in the account, it just like basically locked it away forever.
Oh, he burned them.
God, this shit is so stupid. Like, okay, if you wanted to learn all this stuff, like let's say you really wanted to understand crypto, right? What is the best place to go to actually get like legit information about crypto that isn't like a scam that's going to make you buy somebody's stupid cryptocurrency? Like, what is a reputable source? The white papers? Where would I go?
Basically, what I would recommend is going to college and be a computer science major. Unless you have programming experience, you will never, particularly object-oriented programming experience, unless you have significant experience in that, you will never understand the full security risk of crypto or how it operates.
Okay, so you're saying there's no like layman's way to really understand it? I mean, like, do you really have to have a computer science degree to even understand like 80% of it? Or is it just like, if you don't do computer science, you're just screwed?
I would argue that you need to have at least knowledge of, like I said, an OOP, like C++, or some equivalent, to fully, to fully understand it. I just don't see a way, just how it operates, how it mines, how there's not real ownership unless it's on the original blockchain and everything else is derivative and acting as a bank. Most people are just not going to have the tech savvy on security and programming to fully understand the risk or operations of crypto. And those that do stand to make a lot of money, For instance, you could see people like Jack Dorsey. I believe he's like provided some funds for the Lightning Network. He's also involved in various things that are basically banks for crypto. He stands to make a lot of money because he understands the risk and he understands how he's acting as a bank. And most people don't realize that he's acting as a bank, which avoiding banks was the whole reason for this movement in the first place.
Yeah, well, personally, I think once it became, it went beyond the Silk Road and it became this massively popular thing that's covered by the news. I mean, generally, like the bigger something gets, the more likely it is to become centralized. I mean, you see that with governments, societies, and now crypto is just so massive and so in the public limelight. I mean, it seems like, centralization would be inevitable.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big problem for crypto because if you control half the blockchain, you can forge it, or it depends on the programming. How obviously that's not going to be an issue with Bitcoin, but there have been cryptos that weren't massive where someone took over 50% of the mining and started making fake ledgers and selling the coin multiple times. It's not going to happen to a major exchange, but it is a concern when you're dealing with basically these worthless coins that could happen.
So why can't that happen with Bitcoin? Is it just because it has too high of a market cap and nobody can afford to buy half the Bitcoins?
Yeah, half the mining. That's correct. No one can afford to do that. It's too much.
But theoretically, if I could buy more than half of the Bitcoins, I could do something like that.
I guess the way that would really happen would be if the top 5 miners merged, or I think it might only need to be the top 4 because they're so massive that they could essentially do it. But that's not. It's not going to happen because it would undermine trust in the thing that they're making their business with. And I don't think they have the cash on hand to acquire. I don't know about that. Like these aren't usually audited, but it would defeat all trust in Bitcoin if there was an entity that owned half or more than half.
So my question to you is, like, the more that you've learned and studied this stuff, would you say it's legit, or the more you learn, it's like just a massive scam?
I would say it's a massive scam. There are people that have made money. I'm happy for them. Bitcoin was not made to be a currency, and I'll tell you why. Because if you bought Bitcoin, where would you spend it? You would have to use. You couldn't spend it. The reason you would buy Bitcoin, it's not to use as a currency. You would use it. It used to be now, but you would use it as a speculative investment, or you would use it as something as collateral for a loan, something like that. It's too unwieldy to use by itself.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is kind of conjecture, but it seems to me 95% of people are buying crypto simply for speculative purposes. I don't see there's nobody I know personally that, number one, a lot of people I don't know don't even invest in crypto. But everybody that I do know that invests in crypto, they don't use it to buy and sell crap. They literally use it to speculate. And, if you think crypto is going to go up, I mean, if you think it's going to, a lot of crypto is going to 5 or 10x, what's the incentive to spend it now? Why would I spend crypto for some kind of good or service when I think it's going to go up by 5 or 10x in the future? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Another problem you have is that depending on the currency, like let's say Bitcoin. Bitcoin is by definition deflationary. So why would you spend a deflationary currency since more and more gets lost over time? And there you go. There's no reason to spend it if it's deflationary.
Well, yeah, it makes no sense. It's like, why would I go buy a printer with a Bitcoin when because like the printer, I buy the printer, it's going to depreciate. It's going to eventually be junk. Whereas if I think crypto is going to, Bitcoin's going to go to the moon and be worth $1 million, why on earth would I swap a printer for a crypto? Makes no sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just, a part of me feels there hasn't been a lot of regulation in this because part of me thinks the government doesn't really understand it.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, they invested the Silk Road for 30 months and couldn't shut it down. And then what finally led to it was the guy was promoting it on other sites, and his email address for his username was his real name. That's how the FBI finally figured out who he was after 30 months of investigation. So if they can barely even know how to read an email of someone posting in a forum online, then that tells you how far they are behind on crypto.
Yeah, that's why I think in China they were just like, oh, okay, we don't really understand this crap, but we can kind of see it's a scam, so we're just going to ban it. Well, I mean, that would be something that, like, if I was in charge of the government, I don't understand half of this crap. I mean, I know the vast majority of crypto is just used for speculation. It's obvious to me, and I know the vast majority of it is just a massive pump and dump. Even if you don't understand something, you can still freaking ban it. That's what I would do if I was in charge.
Me too. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. China is not on board with it. A lot of Bitcoin people are delusional. They think the EU and China and the United States are going to oh, okay, well, let's just get rid of all our banking and all our control to regulate them, and let's just use this as our currency, something that we have absolutely no control over, something that we don't understand, and something that, well, we don't even know who made it or who owns a lot of it.
Well, I mean, a lot of the government's power comes from being able to, in a way, control the currency.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's freaking stupid. But, the sad thing is, what is Bitcoin trading at now? It still hasn't, collapsed like I thought it would. But, yeah, it's at $19,835. And to me, it just seems like, okay, this stuff just won't freaking die. Why do you think it persists? Who's behind this? Who's propping this up?
The exchanges, for sure. There was an interesting Forbes article this week that said over half of all Bitcoin transactions are fraudulent, meaning they're non-economic, and someone is hyping it up to make it look like the volume is a lot more than it is. They do this because this is a speculative thing. The more people they get involved in it, the more they can charge for it. And there's companies like Bitfinex, who is also involved with Tether, which Tether is a stable coin that is supposedly worth $1. They supposedly have $1 in the bank for every stable coin in the Cayman Islands, but they don't own it. And there are 68 billion Tether coins in the world. Okay. Now, there's speculation that they're printing Tether out of thin air and using them to buy Bitcoins, therefore driving up the price. And I'm sorry, but I would find it very hard to believe that they would have even a fraction of that 68 billion in the bank account when there's no regulation on it.
Well, and you also have to think, I mean, it's because they also, I've read a little bit about Tether, and they claim that they have it in commercial paper and stuff.
Yeah.
A huge risk is you don't really know what they're collateralizing these tethers with. I mean, it could be highly risky junk. And if that stuff ever, loses value significantly, that would collapse Tether. I mean, it hasn't that happened to a couple other stable coins?
Yeah. Luna was the biggest one. I think it was 50 billion.
Yeah, it just seems to me like if the government wanted to regulate crypto, they could easily just start with the exchanges and be like, okay, you must be audited and you must, provide all your financial information for us to verify that you guys actually have like legitimate assets that are backing these stable coins. I don't see why that would be something difficult to do.
I don't either. That's really what should happen.
Okay, so you think the vast majority of half of these trades are fake is coming from the exchanges?
Yes, I do. It's kind of like this. Have you ever seen a penny stock that all of a sudden gets pump and dumped?
Oh, I see that on YouTube all the time.
Yep. A lot of times they'll take these penny stocks with low valuations and buy and sell, buy and sell, buy and sell to drive up the volume and be like, oh, look at that, 365-day new volume high. Oh, and then you look at it and there's like, I don't know, 10 times of how many shares there are have been bought and sold that day. And then all of a sudden, whoop, here comes the rug pull. It's kind of similar to that with the washing, in my opinion. They want to pump up the volume artificially to make it look like there's more interest than there is. The reality of it is, like I said, there's such a small subset of the population that would even know how to trade Bitcoin properly that you're just, it's almost impossible that it's not completely manipulated in such a way to do just that.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious because like you'll have these like random cryptos or these random pumps in cryptocurrency. And to me, it's just like, okay, there's probably some really big actor in the background that what they do is they go ahead and start buying it really quickly and creating a lot of demand and volume. And then everybody else kind of notices it and they're like, oh my God, this is another pump. And they start buying the cryptocurrencies from the people that were originally pumping it. And that's how they make all their money.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, yeah, I'm just sick of this, man. Like, something needs to be done. How long do you think this thing can go on for?
Well, there's a big problem with the ledger storage on Bitcoin. It's getting humongous. And I guess it can go on for a while, but that ledger's getting huge. Ethereum's even worse. I think Ethereum's over a terabyte in terms of ledger size that you have to download. I mean, you obviously don't have to if you're using some kind of banking intermediary, which is why everyone does that, because who wants to sit around and download a terabyte? I mean, that's not fun. But how long it can go on, I really can't say. I really can't tell you. I do think the crypto winter is going to continue a lot longer than people think. For one thing, this is such a first world luxury. I mean, are you kidding me? You're spending $20,000 on a pretend coin that is what? Like, as our economy gets worse and worse, well, they got to get cash from somewhere. And so, like, well, what's that Bitcoin doing for me lately? Nothing. So I'll just sell it and some Ethereum, and there we go.
Do you personally, you don't have to answer this, do you personally own any cryptocurrencies?
Yes and no. I don't own a lot of Ethereum, and I use the banking app for it. And it's a very low amount. I think it's like I got $12 left on a fractional thing of Ethereum. It's worth nothing.
You have $12 of crypto.
Yeah. I was using it to mint some NFTs just to see how the whole process worked. A while back specifically with the OpenSeas market.
Sorry, I'm just reading some of the comments. You want to go ahead and do some comments?
Oh yeah, bring on the hate.
It's part of YouTube. What can you do? Let's move our faces down a little bit. It's incredible how degenerate the world is, worshiping a stupid internet game token that takes real electricity, wasting the energy that we desperately need to survive.
This is absolutely correct. The amount of electricity used to mine Bitcoin is more than the entire nation of Finland uses. just for Bitcoin, not counting other cryptocurrencies. It's a significant strain on the electric grid. I don't know if you saw, but Governor Newsom in California says don't plug up your electric cars because the grid is on verge of collapsing.
Yeah, it seems like we're doing a lot of things that require a lot of electricity now. Like we got these freaking cars with, probably thousands of Panasonic batteries stuffed inside of them. We got people doing crypto. It's like our electric grid's going to freaking collapse. Maybe I'll invest in some utilities. I don't know. It seems like the prices are going to be shooting up.
Yeah, it's crazy. And when it comes to building new electric plants, there's so many regulations. It's not something you can just do overnight. It takes at least 2 years in most cases to get a new electrical plant running. And who really wants to build them? I mean, they've disincentivized new construction in a lot of areas with different like EPA laws and stuff. I'm not saying we shouldn't have EPA laws, but it's a lot harder than it used to be to expand the power grid.
Yeah, we don't have that problem in Virginia. We got maybe 3 Teslas here. I actually saw I think it was a Rivian. I saw a Rivian. Oh, I like that cup, by the way. Sorry. I saw a Rivian. It was like, man, this is a real car. It's driving around. But yeah, we're not taking electricity here. Huh?
Oh, go ahead.
No, nothing. Here, let's do some more comments. Minor correction. The scaling problem with Bitcoin isn't the price. It's the price per transaction. Okay, so my question is, I got a question about this. What determines gas fees?
In general?
In general. Is it just supply and demand?
Well, a lot of it has to do with how many processes are going and how crowded it is on a network. Basically, the higher the traffic.
Are gas fees generally trending upwards, or have they? Because you think with most things, as they improve, you would think the price per transaction would go down. Has that been the case with crypto and blockchain?
Well, it really depends because it's about volume, and they are updating. But until they have the next update with the crypto, for instance, Ethereum is going to have one soon, which should reduce gas fees. But it takes a major update, and usually it takes a majority to agree on. In Ethereum's case, it's a very interesting scenario because 4 entities hold 60% of all Ethereum. This is not going to be good, well, because that's highly centralized, and they're going from a proof of work, which is a mining, to a proof of
Isn't it stake?
Yeah, proof of stake. Sorry, thank you. The POS,
I don't know what that means. I've heard the term before.
Yeah, basically, proof of work, the way you do it, this is how Bitcoin works: is you mine, right? You mine Bitcoin. That's how you get it. There's still a problem with that, with the major players getting most of the Bitcoin, the ones that can afford the mega machines. But it's imperfect. Everything's imperfect. The proof of stake is basically the more Ethereum you have compared to other people, the more Ethereum you will earn. So the bigger players will get richer.
Oh, what a shock. Really?
Yeah. So we just reinvented banking and overcomplicated it and opened the door for scammers.
I don't know how anybody still falls for this stuff, but maybe I'm just stupid for not buying it. I don't know. Are you the kid from The Sixth Sense?
Oh, I'll tell you something that's hilarious about the merge with Ethereum. So there's a group that's threatening to do a fork, right? The guy that founded Ethereum, his name is Vitalik Buterin. He's a Russian. He was born in Russia. I think he lives in Canada now. And the guy that's planning to do a fork, his name is Chandler Guo. He lives in China. Boy, these are some great people to do business with. I don't see anything shady here at all. And Chandler Guo, he has done forks in the past. He did what was called Bitcoin God. There's been a lot of forks from Bitcoin over the case, and that was arguably a rug pull. But I mean, it's just so odd to me that people are wasting so much money that they earned into these things.
Is the fork like when they just I guess they just take two copies of they take the ledger and they just go from different.
Yes.
Like they basically forks off. Wasn't that a Bitcoin Cash? Wasn't that a fork?
That's why there's several with Bitcoin. That. There's I don't even know how many there are because there's Bitcoin ST. I mean, there's all types of things where people get mad and they fork it. And you never know what side's going to win.
That's why you buy them all. I mean, if I was going to invest in crypto, I would do an index. I'm not even joking. Strongman has zero understanding of crypto. I take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. And I don't have to understand crypto to know it's a pump and dump, boys. All right, let's see. Yeah, apparently I'm a boomer, too. Have I been saying a bunch of boomer things during this conversation? Am I very boomer? Strongman sounds like he reads newspapers.
That's funny.
Let's see. Oh, we got some criticism here. I think this guy does work in computer science, and he's also soy boy too.
What he's saying is correct. I do not have the technical knowledge to invest in cryptocurrency. I fully admit that. I said you had to be a CS major. I am not a CS major. I started as a CS major, so I do a lot of the processes that many don't. But he is absolutely correct that I do not have enough knowledge to invest in crypto.
You're just like a big enthusiast.
Exactly.
Which is better than most people I know. Because like my enthusiasm about crypto, once I basically just kind of watched it and like figured out it has no intrinsic value, it's like, why waste an ounce of my time, researching this crap when I could go to the beach or something, or I don't know, scratch my nuts. Let's see. He just drank from the golden crunk cup. What is that? Dude, that cup is that's a sexy cup. I love my Lana Rhodes NFT. Did you ever participate in the Lana Rhodes NFT?
No.
What did she just make, like one NFT, or did she make like a whole suite of them?
I have no idea. Like I hate NFTs. I think the only reason they exist is to legitimize crypto.
Wouldn't Bitcoin go up if crypto regulations kicked in? Because the institutions would buy.
Why would I guess it depends on what regulations they are. Because if the institutions would buy it, like, you'd have to see what the regulations are. I mean, surely they would foresee this scenario, right?
I mean, it really depends on what they mean by regulations. I mean, it doesn't matter how much Bitcoin is regulated; it's inherently worthless. It has no intrinsic value. So, I mean, why would an institution buy this garbage? Unless they were speculating with it. Maybe they hire a bunch of like genius computer science dudes and they can speculate. But yeah, they're not buying this for like a long-term investment. This guy looks like who's Jack McBrayer?
The guy from Georgia in 30 Rock.
Jack McBrayer. I mean, I guess the hair maybe, but Bitcoin sucks till it crashes to zero. You know how much of a genius I'm going to look if Bitcoin goes to zero?
That Strongman guy, he was saying it was going to go to zero, and he was right.
When do you expect Michael Saylor to start getting margin called? Yeah, when do you think the bottom of crypto is going to be? Bitcoin's going to be?
I mean, I know Michael Saylor's a huge Bitcoin investor, but I don't study him personally. And with the bottom, there's no rationality. There's no way to tell what the top or bottom is because there's no. I mean, it's all speculative.
Oh, I 100% agree. Like, it's impossible to know the volume of the bottom of it. Honestly, I mean, like I've said before, I think Bitcoin's always going to be there as like this, like, you know, kind of sketchy, nasty pump and dump thing that still traps in people. But it could go to like $1 or 5 cents, and you know, scammers will keep it alive to try to continue to have people buy in so they can pump in and then sell it. But it could fall very, very significantly because there's no way to know.
Oh, I did think of a better answer to what you said earlier. Sources for crypto knowledge. There's a channel on YouTube. It's a guy. He's got a degree in chemical engineering, and he's clearly very knowledgeable about programming as well. His name is CoffeeZilla. He basically goes around exposing crypto frauds and different pump and dumpers and financial gurus that are lying. And he's not a complete bear on crypto. I know he invested in it. He never shares what he invested in, but he does point out certain ones and why they're scams from technical levels. Like he analyzes the liquidity pools and the actions of the blockchain and the whales and how they get dumped.
Yeah, I've seen some of his videos. I didn't know he was like some kind of expert on it, but maybe he is. I wish Strongman would do videos on how geopolitics affect the stock market. Anything to invest where Europe freezes. I don't care about geopolitics. They're too complex to understand. Let's see. Oh yeah, here's more details about Lana Rhodes. She made a bunch of NSTs under one, but then she rug pulled everyone because her fans made her feel so sad, so she quit. Then said it wasn't a big deal because Russia invaded.
There's like a war in Russia, so it does, or in Ukraine, so it doesn't matter if I stole all your money. Plus, I'm hot.
That's probably what she said. Let's see. Yeah, that's all the comments. You got any? I gotta piss my pants. You got any last things you want to talk about before we close this out?
I think that's about it.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. We need to get you and I want to get Elemental Tobago back on here. I had him on a while ago. I'm pretty sure he does like computer science.
Oh, I mean, he definitely does. I mean, like, because he's totally. I mean, he's correct on what he said about the scalability and remember how. Yeah, like I said, I fully admit I do not have the knowledge in computer science to invest in crypto. I can only point out some of the problems based on a computer science level, but my understanding is not as big enough where there's not going to be some, he said, little inaccuracies. I completely agree with him.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, man. It's always a pleasure to have you on every once in a while. Plus, your current job, which I won't reveal, is kind of like near and dear to my heart. So,
all right. Well, thanks for having me.
Not a problem. We're gonna do
right.
Jeremy outro, and you guys have a wonderful night.
Cheers! Oh, merry stock market! Oh man! Woo!